mic, bring the facts. Erin in the ring, no turning back. Coby got the numbers clean and clear. Experts in the mortgage space right here. Housing issues, yeah, we dig deep. Every word weigh when the stakes don't sleep. Credit war, you can feel that charge. Every point hit hard, every stance large. Capitol Hill, that pressure stay high. Consolidation makes the small ones fight. Server scene trails, every detail counts. Say it plain, then we write it out. No surrender.
Well, hello there.
13, baby, 13.
Will this be the lucky? Will this be the lucky 13? That's the question.
You're about to find out.
We are. Look at you, Erin. You're looking shiny and new. You must have a new job.
I do. Can you believe it? Look at me. We're looking all professional. No athleisure today.
I've never seen you look so professional.
I know. Well, don't get used to it.
And you always look professional. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are in order. Coby and I would like to wish you all the best at Bank South Mortgage. You are officially there. It's very big news. Congratulations. Really, really happy for you.
Thank you. I'm so excited. This is such an amazing opportunity. I can't wait to dig in a little bit more with Kim on it.
We're going to do that. We're going to bring up on stage right now Kim Nelson, the founder and CEO of Bank South Mortgage. This is a company with so much legacy and tradition behind it, and the fact that they picked you to help continue its success is a huge testament to you, and also to Kim for being a very good judge of character. Hi, Kim.
Hi, how are you?
You're a legend. I'm honored to be here with you and have you on the show. In fact, I met you in person for the first time at the Housing Wire gathering. I don't know if you remember this photo that was taken. This is about a year ago in Colorado Springs. My colleague Latasha Wadi and these other fabulous women, and of course you're in the background here. I snuck into this picture, and so thank you for letting me crash the all ladies party.
That's right.
Really appreciate it. So Erin D, what do you think of Erin?
Uh-oh.
What do you think, Kim, of our friend Erin D?
Okay, so I'm super excited about having Erin on board, because our vision today demands capabilities that we didn't need 5 years ago. And, her experience level aligns directly with, the Chief Innovation Officer role that we created, which, transformation, workflow modernization, intelligent automation, scalability, and with everything that she brings. And I know that we'll do great things together.
I know. Your bank has been around for a really, really long time. Give us just a quick snapshot of the history of Bank South Mortgage.
Okay, great. So Bank South is our parent company. Bank South Mortgage operates as a wholly owned subsidiary. Our bank is 80 years old, and it's family owned, very much a community bank. The bank is growing. It is currently just under a $2 billion asset size institution. And they recently acquired a bank and are looking to acquire additional banks. And they also partnered with Sequence Holdings, who has a minority ownership in the bank. It's 15% ownership, and that's all public knowledge. But they are a AI workplace environment company. That just envision that single pane of glass that sits over all of your systems and all of your data, and allows you to be, an incredible community bank and a community bank-owned mortgage company. So we're excited about all that brings. Harold Reynolds is the chairman and CEO of the bank. I report directly to him. And Bank South Mortgage was founded on February 11th of 2011. I actually started Loan South Mortgage September 1st of 2008, which you'll recall that was the same month as The Big Short. And I grew it from a small brokerage company to a correspondent lender, and then post all of the crazy regulations that came out, from 2008 to 2011. I mean, I think there were at least 100 new acronyms that came into the space, MDIA, HERA, HOPA, HPCC, LO Comp, Dodd-Frank. I mean, it just on and on. I knew at that time, in order for me to continue to grow, that I would need to align with a community bank. They actually were one of my warehouse lenders, and they liked the way that I performed and handled myself. So we started having discussions about becoming, a wholly owned subsidiary of Bank South, and through an asset transaction that happened in 2011. And today we are a predominantly Southeast mortgage company with approximately $1 billion in annual loan volume. Of course, in 2020 and 2021, we were just over $2 billion. And we've purposely stayed the size that we are because of the size of the bank, but the bank is growing faster than we are currently. And so our 2030 vision is to grow the mortgage company to a $3 billion annual run rate and 7,500 units.
There you go. Well, you couldn't have a more lovely person than Erin D to help you lead that charge. She actually told me the other day she was going to get you to 50 billion within 2 years. So
there you go.
Yeah. Coby, what do you have to say to Kim before we let her go?
I think that I don't know Kim. Kim and I haven't met. I'm looking forward to getting to know Kim, as she now is a part of the extended No Surrender family. But I can tell you that even though I don't know you, Kim, the fact that you hired Erin means everything to me in terms of your ability to judge character and personnel. So great hire. Congratulations to you both, and looking forward to big things.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for having me today.
I noticed, I know, just as a side note, it looks like you and Erin are going to the same beauty salon now too. The hair is very similar. So I mean, she's already conforming. I love it.
Brand guidelines.
Yeah,
we will make
start
sure
to look like each other when you work together, right?
Exactly.
I understand that. Yeah, we'll make sure that we keep her in line. We love Erin D. She's a blessing to this industry, and congratulations on the hire.
Oh,
Thank you very much. We
Thanks,
feel very
Kim.
fortunate.
All right, thanks for stopping by. We really appreciate that. All right, that was very nice.
Yes.
Erin, again, just one more time, congratulations to you for
Thank you.
for the promotion.
Kim is an incredible woman, and to have the opportunity to come and learn behind her and all of the opportunities that affords is really, really exciting. So I'm a very, very lucky girl.
Yeah, and you I know you love your Interlink family, so I don't want to leave that. I don't want to leave them out, because I know that you love that place and you love the people there. So I'll give you a minute to opine on that.
Yeah, it was not an easy decision. The Gene, James, Jason, everyone over at Interlink has just always been so incredibly amazing to me. That's probably one of the most well-run companies I have ever seen. They're very diligent, they're very purposeful, and they have an amazing culture. And so I wish them nothing but the best. I will continue to be an Interlink fan, Team Interlink. There's just different opportunities afforded to me through this Bank South role that I felt that I needed to take at this point in my career. And so it was very amicable, and I will continue to cheer on everyone at Interlink from the sidelines.
Yeah, you're not the only one that's out. How about Vishal Garg?
Yeah.
Out at Better, huh?
Yeah.
Big story this week. We're gonna segue. We're gonna slide on over there. Yep. You mastered that. You are one of the first to ever slide on No Surrender. But a few moments ago, I had a chance to talk to Ryan Grant, who is the co-founder of Neo Home Loans, and that is, of course, the retail arm of Better. And we talked about Vishal stepping down as the CEO of Better just a couple of days ago. This happened just moments ago. Here's what he had to say. Then we'll get into it. Surprised that he stepped down?
I was. I think all of us were, right? We didn't know. We don't have a ton of knowledge of board conversations and that kind of stuff. We are head down doing what we know how to do, and so it was definitely a surprise. But I think when you look at the maturation of any mortgage company, right? If you look at the maturation of any company in general, not just mortgage company, like they have an arc, right? And the arc is usually someone with a crazy idea, right, takes it really, really far. But without like really disciplined operators, it kind of stays in that futuristic thing. And he's a guy that is driven by what's next, what's coming, look around the corner, and I, if anybody can relate to that, it's me.
Yeah. So I will start with you, Mr. Coby. Hackaleer, the man in pink. You can't ignore the pink shirt. I love that. It looks lovely. You look good in pink.
I wanted to bring a splash of color. I realized that all the clips we have, I'm wearing, dark colors, and I realized it's now, almost the middle of August. I should celebrate the season.
Well, maybe I should share some white and lift my shirt up, because it would be like Casper. Should I do that?
Well, it wouldn't be a normal episode if you didn't.
Correct. Yeah. We need to see
I did show my belly button on the last episode.
Correct.
You did. And by the way, I want to ask you how you're doing after the recent spill you took in Iowa last week.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Crazy. I slipped and fell in the Marriott at Fairfield. It's the Fairfield Marriott in Des Moines, Iowa. And the cleaning crew left about this much water on the floor in the hotel lobby around the bathroom. No sign, by the way. There was zero sign on the floor, like wet floor. I went around the corner and literally just hit my ass as hard as I've ever hit it and banged my head up against the wall. They brought a manager in from the other facility, and he said, "What can I do for you? We feel terrible." I said, "Well, you tell me, what can you do for me?" He said, "Well, what I can do for you is tell the staff, to put a sign up there and make sure they don't mop the floors when there's that much activity." That was his answer. That's good customer service, huh? Anyway, so yeah, I'm feeling fine. Thankfully, I walked away unscathed because I'm a pretty tough guy. Coby, man in pink. What do you make of Vishal's exit? Rich Swerbinsky this morning said he's hearing rumors that he's trying to raise more money and that, he's buying more shares, and he's very much still in there. So I guess if that's true, and Rich's sources are usually pretty good, then you'd think that, this is not an exit. This is maybe a pause. But certainly it looks like the board was ready for a change.
Yeah, this is a signal to Wall Street, to their investors. 11 straight quarters of losing money. I think they've lost over $2 billion since their inception. Vishal is very much still in the mix. He's still their biggest shareholder. He still occupies a seat on the board. He still has, by a wide margin, voting rights that trump anybody else's. So this definitely looks to be a Wall Street play where it's like, all right, I'm handing over the reins and we're going in a new direction. Vishal's had a credibility problem in our industry for the last few years. There's no question about it. He came into this industry on the back of a bad personal mortgage experience, saying this process is broken, it doesn't have legs for the future, and somebody needs to come in and shake things up. So he took on a disruptor role. When that proved to be a little bit more difficult than he anticipated, and as many who have tried to disrupt our industry have come to find out, he switched to let's be a facilitator. Let's have Tin Man and Betsy embedded. And there were a lot of claims around Tin Man and Betsy that Tin Man is 30 times less defects if you go through that process, that Betsy has 40% reduction in origination costs, a lot of big claims. The problem he had, even though they did get a number of companies like Saxton Mortgage and Finance of America to sign up with them, the problem he had was that of just credibility. You can't spend a decade ripping apart an industry and then decide, well, now I want to be one of the gang and I want to be one of you. And the losses kept piling up from a money standpoint. And I think if the company had a chance to continue on, and I think they should have a chance because they do have some value, and they needed to make a change there. And that's what we're seeing here. So hopefully Vishal lets Dan Lewis do his thing as CEO, and Vishal finds a way to shake hands with the industry. Because I do like Vishal. I know you like Vishal too. And, I think there's a place for them in our industry, and I hope they find it.
Yeah. I saw your post this morning saying that he needs more than just a PR tour, that he needs to get to know people belly to belly. I'm going to challenge you on that here in a moment. But first, I'm going to have our lovely colleague here chime in.
Yeah, Ryan basically echoed kind of what my thoughts were on this is they have lost money, and it wasn't just out as CEO. They also announced a strategy change, right, where they're going to kind of get out of that lead funnel business, and also they added another 20 million to the cuts in expenses that they want to make this year, right? So it wasn't just the CEO change. There was a very clear strategy shift, and I think where Ryan hit it on the head was that you can be a dreamer, you can be out there on your arc, but at a certain point, your operations have to be able to back that up, and you can't just continue to be a money pit forever. And you have investors, so you have to show how you are also running a responsible business that can exist in the long term. And so for me, I think to Coby's point, we have to show our investors that we're shoring things up. We're going to operate in a way that can actually bring returns to shareholders, and it looks like they're going to kind of shrink and focus more on just the pure manufacturing the loan from start to finish, and go rely on more traditional referral type sources for their leads.
So he's a trailblazer for sure, and he's not the first trailblazer, Coby, to point out inefficiencies. That was the motivation behind his trailblazing. So, whether it was a PR campaign or ill communicated, he took a huge, mighty swing. And most of the time, people like that, especially people as smart as Vishal, their bedside manner isn't necessarily that of ours, right? And so I don't see him going on a PR campaign. I don't think he needs to. I feel like he is a guy that has pushed the limits and boundaries. Tinman apparently is a good system. I know people that have said that that are not inside of Better. And his biggest folly was letting all of those folks, the way he let all of those folks go on the days of COVID at the onset. And to his credit, he owned that. And so I spoke with Vishal on one-on-one. My podcast on Mondays at 1 p.m. on LinkedIn. I'm sorry, is it 1? Yeah, it's 1. What is today? Today's Thursday. Anyway, so I spoke to him about 10 months ago, and I listen, he didn't know this question was coming, but I asked him if he had any regrets about how we handled the layoffs. Here's what he had to say back then. Surprised that he stepped down?
I was. I think all of us were, right?
Oh my God, Erin, I did that for you. Just stop laughing at me. Quiet.
This is why I asked about the head injury.
Yes, so thank you very much. All right.
So everything's normal, clearly.
Yes, Ryan and Vishal look like twins. Here is Vishal.
I totally fumbled that. I didn't do a good job of being, an empathetic leader to the people that were letting go. And, there obviously were major decisions that I had to make at that time, but I could wish I had done it differently.
I mean, there you go, man. He manned up. It's over with. He can move down the road. I mean, is he the best people? Is he Ryan Grant? No, but he's going to innovate at a level that very few in the industry have. In terms of their losses in 11 straight, whatever you said, they're a tech company. They're not a mortgage company, first of all. So let's understand that. And if we start judging tech companies based on profits and losses, we would be criticizing more than the majority. We'd be criticizing the majority of tech companies out there. So.
Well, but their strategy change is more acknowledging that they're a mortgage company, not a tech company.
Yeah. And by the way, I didn't say he should go on an apology tour. I said that's not going to cut it. I said I don't think he needs to do that. I think I laid out 3 things that I think he needs to do. I think he needs to let Dan Lewis do his job. I think he needs to create more relationships within the industry. And I think they need to verify some of the numbers around Tinman and Betsy and really show what the value prop is rather than just bold claims. We are an industry that gets inundated by vendors around us that talk about bold claims and statistics that don't really bear fruit. And I think we're all kind of inured to them at this point because we just listen to them as noise, the sponsored content white papers that just are all over the place. So I think putting some validation to that, and I think that's what moves the needle here, not him necessarily going out and apologizing to everybody for being brash or for calling his operations people dumb dolphins or whatever the word was.
Yeah. So he's making a huge bet, right? And I still question whether or not these bets that are being made by all of these forward thinkers are even going to are going to hit pay dirt. Are they going to get into the end zone? And that goes down to Rocket. Mm-hmm. It goes to Bayview. It goes to all of them. To me, the jury is still very much out. And I'll just take this moment to thank Housing Wire and Zeb Lowe and Diego and Clayton Collins for inviting the 3 of us on stage at an upcoming conference, which we can highlight here shortly. But the title of it, and it's sort of all wrapped around this idea of, are we at we're at this point where the industry is going to change forever. And I said to Zeb yesterday, and we were talking about it, I'm like, I think I would dispute that. I'm not sure. I think there's a better chance that the flywheel's not going to be a thing, that these bets aren't going to pay off than they are. So if you want to just comment on that, quickly, and I'm really looking forward to being on stage doing a live no surrender at Housing Wire. And Erin, if you have the dates on that, it'd be great if you pull them up. I think it's October 1st, maybe.
October 1st, yeah.
Yeah. In Dallas?
In Dallas, Texas, I believe it's at the George Bush Presidential Library.
You know what we need is a no surrender code. I'm serious, to get a discount for people that join. And we're going to have we're kicking around the idea of having a FOTS dinner.
That's right.
Friends of the show. So we're going to have a lot of details. It's going to be amazing. We'll have swag. We're going to have it all. But if you want to touch real quickly before we get on to immigration as a major housing headwind, Erin and Coby, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that this whole industry is just going through a whole paradigm shift altogether. And, I think we'll talk about it a little bit later in the show, what's going on with PennyMac, with Zillow, things like that. And so, I do think that we are seeing some structural shifts starting that are going to continue on for the next several years.
I mean, we're always at an inflection point in this industry, aren't we? There's
Sure.
always something changing. There's always
Yes.
something that we're dealing with, whether it's regulatory pressure, new compliance rules, whether it's the talking out of both sides of an administration's mouth about the need for housing and the topic we're about to discuss, immigration rules. We're always dealing with something that is impacting the future of our business. Right now, you can point to 5 or 6 major things, major headwinds that we have. And I don't even have to include interest rates or oil prices in that. I can talk about 5 or 6 things that are headwinds. It's part of what makes our industry exciting and interesting, and what drives passion for a lot of people. But to say we're at a seminal moment, we're always at a seminal moment. And that's what makes this industry great. And that's what makes this, so important of a discussion right now, just because we do have, I think, some more headwinds than we maybe had, a few years ago. But, I just feel like that's the norm for us. The change is constant.
Yeah. And here's one of them, Erin. South Texas will never be red again. Home builders warn GOP over Trump's immigration raids. And Erin, we're starting to see this policy bleed into housing. We've got workers not showing up on sites, which is delaying projects, which is inevitably going to raise the price of these homes that are being constructed. Just how big of a headwind is the immigration policy turning out to be on housing?
Well, I think it's conflicting. It's a headwind, and it's also conflicting, right? Because he's got, the Road Act, the executive orders, all of that as, hey, how do we eliminate red tape? How do we make it cheaper to build? But then when you are looking in certain areas, specifically, let's think about Texas, right? They rely on a large portion of their labor as immigrant labor, and so now when you have ICE, who when President Trump campaigned, it was all, we're going to go after the dangerous felons, the murderers, the rapists, all of that. And what it's really turned into is job site raids. There's just another one at California, I think yesterday. And so you have now where workers are afraid to show up. They've mass deported these workers. And so the South Texas Builders Association recently came out and said that not only is this adding a month to 2 months of building homes, it's adding $10,000 to $20,000 in costs. It's taking longer for permitting. And so what we're seeing now is the results of this immigration policy being enacted in a way that is completely going against all of the housing policies that he's trying to put out as well.
Yeah, there's 2 numbers.
Tack onto that, Coby, the credit box tightening a little bit, which I know you've pointed out succinctly in the last couple of weeks, and it's very conflicting crosswinds.
Well, not only that, there's a few numbers here, plus the fact that the whole ability to repay rule has been expanded to include loan officers and mortgage companies being allowed to consider immigration status and who we lend to. That doesn't just impact ITIN loans; that impacts every loan if that becomes part of the conversation, and that's something that we'll have to see how loan officers and banks respond to that in real time in the coming months. But there's 2 other numbers here that I find interesting. According to the survey, over 40% of contractors have either postponed or canceled a job because of either costs or inability to find labor or materials. And that speaks directly to the jobs and the tariffs right there. In addition to what we know are already very cumbersome permitting and zoning rules that go along with building a home. The other number is 349,000. And the 349,000 is the net new construction jobs that we need to fill in the next year. That is not merely from people getting deported. That's also people retiring out of the business. Every year, people get older, and the new wave of people have to come in and replace them. That's just how the
Hello, no
works.
surrender. Brendan McKay here to talk.
Go ahead,
Okay.
keep going. Sorry.
No, that's
that was
okay.
that was actually my phone landing on my mouse and clicking left.
On Brendan
so you
McKay.
know.
I'm always good.
I'm going to lift this
yielding-
up. I'm going to lift this up. Look, that's what happened. See that?
Oh, a
That's
reverse
the mouse.
slow-mo. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. All right, yeah, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry, bro.
No, that's okay. If we keep deporting the people or not allowing people to immigrate into this country that take these jobs, then we're going to have a massive problem with building homes in this country. And what is that going to do to the cost of homes in this country if we're not increasing the supply? We all know the answer to that. We're getting squeezed from three different angles here, from the ability to repay rule, from the tariffs, and from the construction labor. And all of these things are flying in the face of what the administration claims it wants, which is easier and more affordable access to home ownership. So I think it's the other side of the coin here that needs to be discussed in greater detail and needs a spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Erin, for sure, Coby's pointing out some great things that are impacting the industry. Also, lower birth rate, condo changes now in, like, these things are not helping.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's to the point where you're actually seeing on the immigration side, Republicans in Texas are now going to Trump and saying, like, you've got to chill out here. You're hurting us. We're not going to support these policies. We voted for you because we wanted to have the dangerous people gone, but we need to have a pathway for people who are here that are abiding by the law, doing good work. And so that's a complete shift from what the Republicans are saying as well. So like this whole thing is just, it's got a lot of different tentacles that's negatively impacting housing and giving us headwinds here.
Yeah. One of the questions, Coby, go ahead, Larry Silver.
Larry Silver wondering if you need to enter the concussion protocol.
I think I'm very much in it. I think anyone that's been watching for the last 26 minutes and 18 seconds knows that I'm deep into it. Thank you, Larry, for pointing that out.
I can have Styles give you a CTE consultation if you want.
Well, I appreciate that. You know a lot of former NFL football players.
Help is on the way.
Yep, with apparently good hands. So you know the good hands team. So if I need help, I will call on it. I think this is a perfect time to ask the question here, Coby. Is he just basically bailing on the midterms? Is he giving up? Is his final act going to be something that we're not even imagining right now? Double click on this for me.
Yeah, I think there's the public persona that he's putting forth, and then there's the private. And I think publicly, I think he's got to start pivoting past the midterms because it's looking more and more like the Democrats are going to take the House. Privately, though, they're putting him out on the campaign trail. He's still trying to raise money for Republicans. He's still trying to press on it because privately he knows that if the Democrats get into the House, one of the first things they're going to do gleefully is impeach him. Now, that's never going to go anywhere. He won't get convicted. He's going to need 67 votes in the Senate to get that done. They'll never get it. They didn't get it the first two times they tried it, but it is a major distraction for him, and it does dilute his power a little bit. And also, it's a loss of face a little bit to get called out like he would be in an impeachment. So I think there's the public persona, which is what's more important than winning in November is making sure this country stays on track, is making sure Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. He's been doubling, tripling down on that over the last few weeks, talking about how that's even more important than the economy. He's trying to sell Americans on the fact that Iran having this nuclear weapon is more important than whatever pain you're feeling at the pump or with your take-home pay. But I think privately he's worried about losing face. He's worried about becoming a lame duck president in the second half. There's been some talk that the focus is going to shift to pardons and to other money-making and king-making ways that he can still retain control of the Republican Party. So I think it's interesting to watch as it comes. I had thought over the last couple of weeks that he would try to wrap up this war by the time of the September FOMC meetings to try to maybe at least not get a rate hike to keep things as they are, because we know 3 different Fed presidents voted for the rate hike. But I'm thinking more and more it's looking like it's going to be Iran all the way, and that's the play.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, back to Texas again. I spent the week with the Texas Mortgage Bankers Association, so I have fresh Texas on the brain. But a TSU survey just came out this week that showed Tallarico is ahead 2 points over Paxson, and that's big trouble for the Republicans in Texas, right? And so that's not good news for them at all. And if you look, Trump's favorability specifically with Latino voters went from like positive 14 points to negative 20 something points. It's absolutely insane, the shift that he has had. So he is in big trouble. And I think that it's clear when you look at his tweets. He just had one out yesterday that was like, don't believe the Democratic polls. It's all fake news. Everyone loves me. The economy's doing great. Save money on taxes. We're getting Iran out of nuclear weapons, all of this stuff. And so it's just more of bloviating, and to more bloviating from Trump. But I think that the more he's going out just shows he really is sweating it, because sure, he can go and resort to executive orders if he wants to, but those executive orders are going to be turned around on day one if the 28 election does not go the Republicans' way, right? And the problem is we've been really working in this industry to try to get those executive orders that are good to become permanent, specifically with the CFPB, right? And so now if he's just going to spend the next 2 years giving out pardons and executive orders, that's just going to be even more regulatory upheaval for us that we are going to have to deal with when it eventually will shift back again, if not made permanent. And so that's my concern, is if and when he's going into his lame duck 2 years, what is going to be the trail of destruction that we will be left cleaning up with EOs and all these other temporary measures?
Well, you just wonder when the party's going to break from him. When is he going to lose control?
Tucker just announced his new party this week.
Yeah, like when is the juice not going to be worth the squeeze anymore for those people that are trying to ride his coattails? You know,
well, I think
you already see JD Vance. You know, he's already separating a little bit, hinting that maybe. Dude, why are you taking my words out of my mouth? Why are you
I'm so sorry.
It's very rare I have something poignant to say, and here you are taking one of the probably 3 salient points I was going to make right out of my mouth.
I feel terrible.
Do you mind putting it back in my mouth, Coby?
That's for after the show.
I would never say no.
Coby,
you never have yet.
You're amazing. Yes, you are undefeated when it comes to that. Hey, you know what? You talked about the CFPB, and you know I didn't have the exact place to drop this, but they are currently seeking comments, and our good buddy Brendan McKay is, has helped with the CFPB RFI response. And we're going to play what Brendan has to say. I'm going to do that right here, right now. Erin, do you want to tee this up?
Yeah, absolutely. CFPB is asked for information on changes to TRID, to rescission. Mortgage Bankers Association, I worked with them on their response, and it's a good opportunity for us to give feedback. So let's hear it from Brendan.
All right, let's hear it from Brendan McKay. He heads the Broker Action Coalition. They're one of the best lobbying groups we have in this industry.
Hello, no surrender. Brendan McKay here to talk to you about some potential TRID rollbacks that the CFPB is considering. So back in July, the CFPB put out a request for information, an RFI, asking the industry for feedback on the potential of rolling back certain aspects of TRID. Now, the Broker Action Coalition will publish its full response next week, but I wanted to go over some of the highlights for you guys today. So there are 4 main things we're asking for, and one idea that we're kind of pushing back against, and I'll start with that. So there is a little movement around the idea of getting rid of the 3-day waiting period from seeded to closing. And while that certainly would make our lives a little bit easier, we believe that it opens the door far too wide for the potential of bait and switch, which if you were in the industry back in 2005, 2006, you knew it was a very, very real thing that was happening. And we don't want that. That is bad for everybody. But there are 4 things that we are asking for. The first and foremost is moving lender credits from box J on the loan estimate and closing disclosure to box A. This would not only paint a clearer picture to the consumers on what their actual financing costs were, but this is a massive deal for brokers and wholesale, especially on borrow paid compensation loans where the APR calculation is currently broken. If lender costs count towards the APR calculation, lender credit should also count. Pretty straightforward. We're also asking to get rid of the 3-day right of rescission on primary residence refinances. Before the 3-day TRID waiting period, this made complete sense, but now it doesn't really provide any additional protections for the consumer and results in longer locks, more lock extensions, and all these additional loan costs that would be better to get rid of. We also want the electronically delivered disclosures to be considered received upon delivery, not upon acknowledgement. If you've ever worked in operations at a closing department, you know how much of a pain in the ass is trying to get borrowers to sign e-sign disclosures before midnight on a Tuesday. And lastly, we are saying keep zero tolerance for lender-related costs when it comes to cures. But as far as third-party costs, give a little flexibility. If the settlement company provides us the wrong number for transfer and recordation taxes, that should not be on the lender to cure, which I think we all can agree is reasonable. So pay attention. When you see these responses come out, read them, talk about them. Proper advocacy requires your participation. And that's it for me today. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Coby. Thanks, Erin. Back to you guys.
What a correspondent he is.
love
He looks
BMAC.
good, by the way. He's on vacation. He looks like 10 years younger.
Yeah,
Don't you
he's
think?
got the poof in the hair. He's looking like he's in summer camp. He's got, I like
Yeah,
I'm digging the
everything-
shirt.
It's all working for him. What do you think of waiving the 3-day right of rescission, Erin? What's your opinion on that?
So I'm actually in favor of that as well. And I know that in working with Mortgage Collaborative and on theirs as well, I believe that was part of our response, waiving that because you already have the 3-day wait. One thing that he did not mention that I know has been part of some responses as well was having more clearly defined where you can actually waive, the borrower can waive that 3-day. He said he wasn't in favor of changing that, but I think other industry trade groups have said, hey, where you can say this is a bona fide emergency to waive the 3-day from the CD receipt, is putting more rules around that to where you could actually provide a path for a borrower to be able to waive that. And so I know other industry trade groups have said that they would like that. And then, but I do think just generally speaking, there's some good area of opportunity for improvement in these rules.
It's always been so frustrating to me that things that make such common sense require such bureaucracy to get done. A couple of nights ago, my daughter wanted a sleepover with her friend, and the sleepovers during the week, during the summer, are always difficult for me because, I got to get up in the morning and the kids are up all night. And so I put some ground rules, which I actually put on LinkedIn, and it got like 50,000 views. But the ground rules were like, no door dashing at 11 o'clock at night, respect each other, don't wake me up unless there's an emergency, like basic common sense things. I didn't have to submit a request for information to her. It was just like, here's common sense, just do it. Why can't we just do it? Nobody's against, putting the borrower credits as part of the APR. Nobody's against the right of rescission when we already have the TRID stuff. Like, these are just such easy things. Why do we have to waste our time with this process? It's so frustrating to me.
Yeah, it's kind of like when when it's discovered that I'm in the closet, which
Look at my
I
face.
eventually came out of the closet, just so everybody knows. I didn't stay in here. But this was our pre-production meeting on, I guess, Monday. I had just gotten back from a trip. Shout out to my son for winning the gold medal in the AAU Junior Olympics, his 13 and under team. I should pull up a highlight, actually.
Absolutely. Little
I may
OBJ.
send you a highlight of my badass 13-year-old making a one-handed catch on a bullet. But I was in the closet here, and Coby, he coaxed me out of it. So I'm obviously out of the closet and now in the studio. So I really appreciate that, Coby. Do you guys know what this is? Have you seen this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Besson's note taking.
Yeah, at Camp David. They all got together recently for some high-level meetings. And Coby, what are we looking at here?
We're looking at a note that Besson wrote himself to bail out the Japanese, which we've done before. I think the latest time was in 2011. Japan has been in just decades long issues with their economy. Their interest rate right now is at, I think, 1%, which is their target rate, which is 250 basis points below our target rate. The issue that we had here and why this is related to mortgage is because people were borrowing against the yen and buying treasuries, that was one thing that was putting pressure on their economy. The other part was if they were in a need for cash, guess what? They're one of the largest holders of treasuries, like $1 trillion to $1.4 trillion, and they would have sold all of those treasuries or a good chunk of that to bail themselves out. I know Erin has a lot to add on this because this is a story that she brought up, but I did the digging that I did into this. It looked like a good opportunity for the United States to get involved and to alleviate some of the pressure on Japan. They're at a 40-year low in terms of the yen to the dollar. And I think it just shows to me what it really spoke to, and the way that Besson orchestrated this, which was to dump euros to buy yen. I thought that was pretty clever the way that you orchestrated that. This was an opportunistic way to save our bond market, but also help out an ally. So I like the fact that we did this. I like how we did it too. But I think it also speaks to the fragility of our markets and how important it is to get things right. Because if you look at what Japan has been through, not just the fact that their target rate is 1% and all the inflation that's led to, but the fact that their debt to GDP ratio is like 100 basis points higher than ours as well. They're in real trouble. We've been talking. I know each of us have had conversations about our national debt and the $9 billion of interest that's being added daily. And
we're just a hair under 40 trillion, Coby.
Yeah, and Japan's in worse shape.
In 2 weeks, we're going to be at 40 trillion.
Yeah,
the deficit. Erin, I know You have a lot to say here. I'm going to make you wait another few seconds. All right. I'm going to
You're always
totally
making
tease
me
you.
wait for it. And
Well, yeah,
anticipation.
I always am. Here's Scott Besson on what the hell he just did.
Stable yen is not only important for the U.S., but it's very important for the entire region, because if the yen were to weaken substantially, then the other currencies would follow it. Understand that they are making serious efforts to stem the substantial undervaluation in their currency. We believe that they are going to continue to put the right policies in place that will lead the yen to get back to more of a normal equilibrium price.
Yeah, I mean, that's not sustainable, though, Aaron. He can go in there, go into the well once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times. But if this is what's going to keep, treasuries from going to, 8 or 9 or 10 and rates going just as high, they're going to have to come up with something different. I don't know. So
Yeah.
you were really all over this week. You were dying to talk about it. I know you're bursting at the seams.
Yeah, because there's so many different layers to this story that I think are so cool. First is there's a cautionary tale here, right? If you go back to 1999, the Bank of Japan was the first central bank to go to a zero interest rate policy. And then in 2001, they were the first central bank to do a form of quantitative easing, right? And they have just been injecting. So basically the Bank of Japan has been buying half of its own securities for years at 0% interest rate. And so outside investors who want to, or people who are in Japan that actually want to earn some sort of premium or some sort of rate of return on their savings have gone out to Ginnie Mae securities, to treasuries, to agency bonds and they to Coby's point, not only are they one of the largest treasury investors, but they were also one of the largest holders of Ginnie Mae securities because they've had to come out to actually earn interest. The problem with having a zero interest rate policy, when inflation starts to hit your economy, like what has happened over the last several years with Japan, they are seeing the same inflation that we're seeing. Their dollar has been completely devalued and gone down to the point where they're in crisis mode. And so to what Coby was saying, they could, in order to buy more yen to try to pump up the value of the yen, they could sell all of their treasuries, dump and flood the treasury market, increasing supply, dropping prices, and increasing yields. Numbers that I've seen would have increased the 10-year by up to 50 basis points, right? And as much as Logan Motoshami likes to hug a spread, that still is going to have ugly response for us, right? And so Besson intervened so that we didn't tank our own, or our own 10-year wasn't tanked. Instead, he went to euros and he sold euros and impacted the EU to buy yen, because he does think that holding yen is valuable for us, because he does think that it's undervalued and that it'll eventually be a good asset for us to hold. But the long story is that that's not sustainable. I think we almost completely exhausted our supply of yens that we had, or of euros. And so what's the next step? And I think that's where the really interesting part of this is what's the next step? And so they have actually said that they, going forward, will allow Japan to use the FEMA repo facility, which is basically similar to what our banks had, where they can go pledge treasuries overnight, get dollars, and then sell them back, right?
They have to raise the cap significantly on that, though.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. The cap on that is only like $60 billion per institution. So in order to do that at the level that Japan would need, they would have to completely raise that. So is that going to be the next step that we're going to do? Because then that would kind of untether the yen with our bond market. But again, how much are we going to extend? At what point are we going to continue to do that? But then the other step is now that all of these other nations have seen us unwilling to step in with the US dollar, we had to leverage the euro. Now people are calling into question our ability to have the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. Yeah. So this story has just brought out so many questions that I just find it completely fascinating, and we've not seen the end of it.
To me, it's also really interesting because, we've seen the president over the first 2 years of his term rail against Jerome Powell to lower interest rates. We want to see, and what we're learning as we start to see these levers being pulled is that it's not that simple. This is truly a global economy. I mean, we're selling euros to buy yen. People are borrowing yen to buy U.S. Treasury securities. The Japanese have a lever over us where they can sell all these treasuries and really tank us. The Chinese are importing less oil from Iran, which makes it easier for us to put pressure on Iran. I mean, all of these things are so complicated and so interconnected that politicians' speaking points about we want lower rates and we want more housing, it's all fluff. There's so many more layers to it, and this just illustrates exactly how, not even exactly how many, but just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, it's a cautionary tale. Like, you look at how long ago they went to ZIRP, and they did QE even way before we did, and now look at where they are. Like, I think we need to be paying attention to this.
Yeah, we've never been in a more chaotic moment politically across the world than we are right now. It doesn't seem to be getting any calmer. You have little wars popping up everywhere. Who knows if China's going to be next? If they're going to go in there and grab Taiwan. So, I mean, there is a lot going on right now. Russia, Ukraine doesn't seem like that's coming any closer to ending.
I mean, Russia, Ukraine's getting involved in Iran.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild. Coby, you're right. Like, when you peel back the layer on the demand to lower rates, it's just not that simple. There's way too many overhangs here, and they have much greater significance and consequences than a rate move lower by 50 basis points, which it doesn't seem like we're going to get that. If anything, it seems like we might be heading in the opposite direction. And, in terms of the mortgage industry right now and where we are, I think a lot of folks thought by now that we would be cruising, and yet here we are still, because of the war, largely in a position where pipelines are starting to really dry up, where you've got the spring market coming to an end. Last week, we talked about all of the movement in the space, with recruiting really picking up to a fever pitch that I've never seen before. And now this. Yesterday, Zillow, with 500 layoffs announced. I know a few people that were let go in that. And so we're seeing more consolidation as well. Yesterday, Mason McDuffie getting swallowed up by Envoy. And the question is here, huh?
Penny Mac.
Yeah. I mean, the question is this just the beginning of another, preemptive cold winter when it comes to layoffs? And obviously, I'm going to say that it is, that are going to be. We're having not a lot of conversations about it, but I know other lenders that are. And if you've not used the period of time when things got a little bit better to figure out how to scale and turn the dial up and down overseas, for instance, which we have, then you're left with looking at your roster, right, and inflicting more pain on the people that are serving the customers that you serve. And it's going to be a sad. I think it's we're in for another sad moment in time, Coby, where there are going to be more significant layoffs in this industry if something doesn't change dramatically. Now, if the war ends tomorrow and we start to see more cracks in the economy, then maybe we can see the 30-year mortgage go down to 6.5 or a little bit lower, which would give us the relief we need to maybe not lay people off. But I don't think you'd bet that way right now. I think you'd bet the other way.
Yeah, I mean, we're already down 40% as far as our workforce from 2021, 2022. I mean, so I think there are companies out there that are still able to lay people off, and they have some room to right size, because maybe they came into this year expecting rates to be lower than they were, and many of us did. So that's part and parcel of this business, as we come in with some expectation, and we're exiting now with a very different year. And I say exit because we are in the sunset of this year. We're heading, school starting soon. My daughter starts school on Monday. Then you go right into the holidays. So the super strong buyer market part of the year is over. It doesn't look like we're going to get a refinance part of this year at all, at least not for the rest of this year. So I think there aren't that many companies left that can right size. I think the question is, are going to be more companies like Mason Mac that just decide, okay, well, it's time to cash in our chips for what they're worth at this point and see if we can scale that way. I think if you look at over the last couple of years, there have been far more mergers and acquisitions deals going on in mortgage than there have been mass layoffs. So I think that's been the trend, and I expect that to continue. We're going to see a lot more of those deals. Mason Mac, I mean, that's a relatively, mid-sized IMB, 100 LOs, $1 billion in production. We just saw NewRez offload their origination arm, which was almost the exact same size to American Pacific and Synergy One. I just feel like there are more deals like that. And if you look at who Mason Mac went to, Envoy is a mortgage that has vertical integration with a real estate company. And I think, we're starting to see who's emerging as the people that are making bets in the future that can actually win some deals. So further evidence that the future of this business is that full stack customer flywheel.
No, that people are betting on it. That's the only evidence I see. Not that it's going to work.
Well,
that people are betting on it.
If you look at the details, I mean, if you dig into what Penny Mac and even Zillow, they're not necessarily telling the story of it's really bad here and we're dying. It's, hey, we've implemented all of this AI. We've achieved this very specific level of efficiencies. We've cut our closing times from this to this, this to this. Zillow talking about use of their AI chat and how it's increased. And so I do think some of this is, are we starting to finally see where, this is going to be more of a slow bleed versus big layoffs, where companies are finally starting to achieve some level of efficiencies with the AI investments that they've been making, right? I mean, part of PennyMac said that their lackluster financial performance was due to investments in AI. We all know about Zillow. And so, I think some of this might be, hey, these companies have doubled down, have invested, and they're now achieving the efficiencies where we are going to see more of a slow bleed. But I thought something was really interesting in the PennyMac numbers is they basically said they completely pulled out of out of agency correspondent purchases, I think in June, which is insane. I mean, they're usually one of the biggest aggregators out there. Because the competition from Fannie Freddie cash window has been so good, they just stopped buying agency loans altogether. So is that going to continue? And are we going to see more consolidation in that correspondent space, right? Because they're getting all of their efficiencies on the broker side and on the consumer direct side. So where, are we going to start to see some cracks form in that correspondent channel, especially if Fannie and Freddie are sharpening their pencil with the co-issue.
In other words, they may cut off a big revenue stream for companies if the government's holding more of that bag, and that could put pressure on them. That's interesting.
Yep.
Coby, anything more on this?
Nope. I think, I think we're going to see a lot more of this happening over the next few months. I think the second half, which we're already, 5 weeks into, is going to produce a lot more consolidation and M&A deals. So I'm expecting a robust season and a lot for us to talk about over the next few months.
Dude, I just want to say this has been hell for 4 or 5 years. Never felt any more hot hell than this, having been in the industry 30 years and been a part of so many ups and downs. All the head fakes. We finally get to that moment where we just know it's coming. Rates are heading down below 6%. And then the president that said that he was going to be the one that stopped all the wars starts a war. And here we are at 6 3/4. It's unbelievable.
And restarts it every week.
Yeah. And there are, there are companies that are suffering out there. And, we're going to take a look right now at one that may be suffering. Certainly their stock price is. And this post by Mike Cordes from Nexa. Wow. I mean, this was on Facebook, where Mike took the liberty to take, a pretty out in the open shot at Loan Depot, whose stock price on July 30th fell 30%, down $30, almost 97%, down to under $1, which is the danger zone for any publicly traded company. So which one of you wants to take this? And this is the sorry post, and then I'm going to show you the sorry, not sorry post. Actually, this was the shot. Then there was the sorry, not sorry post.
Well, I think this is just yet another doubling down of it's like there's this effort to go after Loan Depot. Recently, there was an activist shareholder coming out and saying that they needed to sell the company, that the performance is not what it should be. And so Loan Depot right now, it just feels like they're kind of getting attacked from multiple angles, this being the latest one.
I couldn't help when I read this to think about the public fight you had a few weeks ago with the recruiter who was making calls within the House talking about how NFM is cutting off 25% of the staff. This is the public version of that. Your house is on fire. Come over to us. Here's the incentives. And if they go after you and sue you for coming over to us, we'll pay all your legal fees. I have certain feelings about this one, the way I had about the guy who called your loan officers. I feel like we need to do a little bit better than this in our industry, than tearing each other down publicly and making these kind of claims about stop risking a sinking ship at a bad company. I'm not even sure what pun he intended there. And I like Mike Cordes. I like the guys in our industry that are brash and bold and brazen, but do it by being innovative and do it the way Cordes has done it over the last few years, which is doing things in the broker channel that nobody has done before. getting into servicing, the compensation stuff that he's done, growing the company to 3,700 loan officers while having a public fight with his partner and getting through all of that. The real estate company, he's done so many cool things, and I just feel like this is just unnecessary. And I think it brings the wrong kind of attention, and I think it sends the wrong kind of message about how we want to recruit loan officers in our industry.
Yeah, and then he goes on to say they want to go back into wholesale, talking about Loan Depot, but are stupid enough to sue the largest brokers for the exact things they are actually guilty of. They are literally the bully of mortgage. Meanwhile, Mike built a lot of his success on the back of UWM, and we know what UWM did with their all-in mandate, right? Like that's exactly what they did. They bullied, and Mike has been a staunch defender of them. So there is some hypocrisy here and here. And I too like Mike, by the way. So this to me is, I just had to chortle at this. It's basically,
I didn't know you chortled.
I chortle often. This is his sorry, not sorry, where, he talks about how he's trying to be, Mike 2.0, and instead he was Mike 1.5. So, and then he goes on to say, I actually praise Loan Depot. Look, I got to say, look, let me pivot off of this for a moment. Anthony Shea, where is he? Like, where? This is a guy that was the first to step out onto LinkedIn. He was the guy that was always on CNBC. He was the guy that championed the industry. I think part of Loan Depot's success came on the back of his courage and his voice. I never see it anymore.
Why did he come back? Why did he come back? He came back because he wanted to bring back his name and take Loan Depot back in the right direction. And ever since then, other than claiming they're getting back into wholesale before the 2025 year was over and it looked like rates were going to drop in 2026, so it seemed like the timing was good. Did he come back just to give them that one big idea and then vanish again? I agree with you. Where the hell is he?
I think he came back to right the ship, to right the wrongs of the people he left the companies, in their hands. And I'm sure, like many who have made, big bets, he was counting on where we thought the rates were going, that there would be a sizable boom and that they would resurrect. But currently at around $1 or wherever they are right now, I mean, they're hanging in there. I'm not hearing anything bad about them operationally. I think they've got some of the best tech around, but it seems to me like Coby and Erin, they would be one that would be really well suited for a partner.
Yeah, I agree. And it seems like they're starting to have momentum going that way.
But they had an additional issue that I thought Tony was going to come back in and help them with, which was they exited the broker business. And then they wanted to come back in, and they had a trust problem, a credibility problem with the broker community. So I would have thought there would have been a lot of public discussion about why you can trust us again, and a lot of things that were noticeable. And we just haven't seen that. It was almost like, all right, maybe they were going to do that when they thought rates were going to hit that 5 handle and stay there. And then it was all of a sudden like, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else. And then they've just been quiet since.
Yeah, if you want to gain momentum, do what you did to get you there, Anthony. Get out there, start talking to more people, and get people excited about it. It's not going to happen. Yeah, it's not going to happen in a silo. I reached out to him. He was kind enough to respond and say no, but he's got to go back. I think they have to really go. They want to go back to the roots. Go all the way back to their roots, like bootstrapping when you were so hungry to get the word out, right? Because you're only as good as yesterday.
And by the way, who's been really good at that? Mike Cordes.
Great at it. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. So who else is great at getting out there is Tim Rude. I'll tell you what, Erin. You helped bring Tim Rude into my life. Why do we love Tim Rude so much?
He's great. He actually, if you looked at his daily dose today, he actually had a really good write-up on the whole Japan situation. And so if I confused it for you, you can go and read Daily Dose today, because he did a really good write-up on it. He's just the best. I believe he is in Carmel right now, or Monterey, enjoying himself. So I hope he's having a nice, relaxing time.
Have we left anything on the table as I rip up?
Oh, you went full Nancy Pelosi with that rip. Wow.
I like that. Hey, I'm going to, and now I'm going to do now I'm going to do a David Letterman.
Oh, old school.
Wow.
I got to say, Coby, you should go with the bright colors more often. You're looking tan and handsome in that color.
I appreciate that. I think I'm going to brighten things up on this end. It counteracts my typical dour mood on the show. So I think it's
Get out of here. Have we left any stones unturned?
No stones, buddy.
We've
No
not.
stones.
You know, we are blessed to be in this industry where just about every week we have like 10 topics that we have to reject because there's so many more interesting things to talk about.
Yeah. Hey, if anybody wants our rejection list, I'm happy to share because there's some good topics on that too.
We should do a rejection show. It'll be
Yes.
like the bootleg of this. We can like not do it live, but just play it and then disseminate it. And we want to know who the FOTs are. Who are the friends of the show? Because we are eventually going to pivot again into our swag mode, and we're going to start buying some swag and handing it out, and maybe doing a little bit of selling it. And then when we go to Housing Wire, where we're going to be on stage October 1st, live doing a no surrender.
So excited.
We'll be handing some of that stuff out.
I'm so excited to be on the stage. I want to thank Zeb and Diego and Clayton for inviting us on. Diego had a really cool email that he sent out yesterday. I think it was their first one promoting that conference, at least the first one that I saw. And I happened to be on the phone with Zeb talking about what the stage show might look like. And all of a sudden my phone started blowing up because Diego had sent that email while I was on with Zeb, and people were sending me text messages asking me about it. I'm very excited to do it. I'm very excited. Of course, it's an opportunity for the three of us to be together in person, which is always super special.
Yes.
The FOTS dinner the night before, we're going to make that happen. I'm putting that out into the universe. And
So we're going to let somebody sponsor that too. So we know a lot of people with deep pockets watch the show. We've not dug into sponsorship yet, but we may be willing to put a headliner on this dinner. So, you know, if you're hearing this and want to reach out to us, great. And if you're a FOTS, if you're a friend of the show, we need to know, because we're going to have some swag for you. Yeah. Show us all your FOTS. Another excellent show. Thank you, Jason Baker.
Thanks,
we love
Jason
you.
Baker.
Nayang is back there somewhere. You know, how much do we love Nayang? We're going to force her on stage.
As per usual.
We haven't done this in a minute. So where is Nayang?
Look at your hair today. You look so pretty.
I don't even see her. Are you joking? You're being funny,
We see
right?
her. No, we see her.
Hey, hi,
so
Nayang.
cute.
Look at you. Wow, great hair day.
Great hair day. She's staying on mute because she had some echo issues earlier, but we're
She did.
always
She was
always super appreciative of what she does. She is
We
the
love you,
glue
lady.
that keeps us together.
Erin, congratulations on the new job at Bank South
Thank you.
Mortgage. We can't wait to watch you soar. We know that that's inevitable. So keep up the great work. And thanks to everybody for listening to another edition of
No Surrender.
Greg, you're handsome too.
whatever.
No surrender on the show. We go toe to toe. What's fair? What fair?